Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Mr. Honey, going through the motions here, helping you out with the study guide. So, this is your study guide here for your exam. Once again, this is meant to be a guide. Most of your exam is going to be focused more towards a blend of this as well as your practice exam, which you guys had. So, I'm just here to go over this and help you guys out. Let's go ahead and get started. So, when are teenagers hardwired to get sleepy? Typically around 11 o'clock. All right. And most of y'all have told me that you feel this, you understand. Now, so, now what is also a result of the lack of sleep? Well, obviously, you're dealing with irritability, you're dealing with drowsy driving. Just this is more of a common sense inability to process thoughts and thinking, so impaired cognitive ability. So that's often what happens as a result of a lack of sleep. So positives and negatives of naps. In one way, the positive, hey, you get to sleep and you can get a quick recharge, but many of the negatives is that, it really can throw you off of your sleep cycle. So you need to know about that and know the positives and negatives of naps in that sense. Um, Drowsy driving obviously is caused when you don't get enough sleep, and a lot of people say it's comparable to driving under the influence, from the standpoint of that you're not paying attention. You can possibly get in a wreck, and once again your driving is impaired. So recommended hours of sleep, that would be 8 to 10. So that's pretty much everything to do with sleep. Now, obviously, we have different types of wellness here. This is what we discussed in the very, very beginning of the semester. So you have this wellness overall, which is making sure that you're healthy, you're doing well. This is referring to the concept of holistic wellness, meaning that we're hitting each and every one of these examples. Now, physical wellness relates mostly to the body, making sure that you're taking care of your physical self. In other words, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're staying hydrated, making sure that you are eating the proper amounts of foods or the right kinds of foods. So that goes into physical wellness. Emotional wellness is the ability for you to express your emotions in a way that is not destructive and you're expressing them in a healthy way. Moving on, we also have intellectual wellness, which is taking the time to learn taking the time to learn new things, and taking joy in learning new things and understanding that learning is a lifelong process and that we're always going to be learning and expanding our minds. And this can also be something that can be more related to the idea of, just exploring something on your own or learning something for a specific trade or to move up in like a job or something of that nature. So, intellectual wellness. Next, we have spiritual wellness, which does not always equate to religion, as a lot of people think, but it's mostly about maintaining a sense of harmony in your life and finding out where your meaning of life comes from. So, making meaning in your life, taking time to take care of things. Next, we have occupational wellness. Occupational wellness is where you're taking time to learn about doing something within a career field that you prefer to go to. Obviously, learning things about that and getting a sense of fulfillment from a job. Then we have environmental wellness, which is taking control and really taking care of the environment around you, whether that would be from the standpoint of like recycling or things of that nature, or whether that be from the standpoint of cleaning up your room and keeping your space nice and tidy. Next, we have social wellness. Social wellness is where we have the standpoint of making sure that you can make and keep positive relationships. Those are the areas of wellness that we're going to be focusing on for the exam. So next we have different nutrients. So we have complex carbohydrates, which they are, your starches, your breads, your pastas, and oftentimes complex carbohydrates are associated with having a higher sense of glycemic index. So just know that those are your more breads. They take longer to break down. If you think about a carbohydrate like a math problem, 7 minus 2 plus 3 divided by 7 is going to be really complex and take longer to solve rather than a simple math problem, 2 plus 2 equals 4, a simple carbohydrate. So this is going to be things like vegetables, your fruits. They're easily broken down. They're easily taken care of. They're often associated as not having a higher glycemic index, so they don't spike your blood sugar as quickly as a complex carbohydrate. So those are your simple carbohydrates. Then you have your 3 types of proteins. You have your complete protein, which contain all the essential amino acids that we need. You have your incomplete protein, which have some. So, for example, a complete protein, you're mostly going to be looking at meats. An egg is obviously the perfect protein containing everything. And then obviously your incomplete protein, it has some. So that's going to be more of your vegetables and things of that nature that do contain some of these amino acids and do contain some proteins. Not vegetables, beans, and things of that nature, but do contain some, but really not a lot. And with that is the complementary protein, is where we see that people, for example, who do not eat meat can eat certain types of incomplete proteins to get all of the essential amino acids that they need. So know the effects of fat consumption as well as low fat diets. Just understand that consuming fat does not make you fat. It takes a lot to consume in order to have that happen. So consuming fat does not make you fat, okay? And with that being said, a lot of times one of the things that happens with a low fat diet is when someone does go on a low fat diet, oftentimes they will get and serve as depression, because what happens is that with a low fat diet, um, your fats, correction, your fat does have a large tendency to affect your mood. So when you take it away, a lot of times that will affect your mood. So give examples of vitamins and minerals. Once again, vitamins, if it's got a letter in it, it's a vitamin. If it doesn't got a letter in it, it's a mineral. For example, if you see calcium, calcium is not a vitamin, it's a mineral. If you see zinc, zinc does not have a letter in it, it is a mineral. But if you see vitamin A or vitamin D, guess what? Those are vitamins, okay? I don't get crazy with fancy language and things of that nature. So, what is responsible for the obesity epidemic? Sugar consumption. When you break it down, it's mostly consumption of sugar, and that is one of the big things. Sugar, and then things such as not exercising and things of that nature. But once again, big consumption of sugar. Now we're going to go into the kitchen safety. Define, these are the specific terms that are going to be on your exam. So blender, pot, pan, and turner. Blender obviously chops, blends, and chops and blends, liquefies foods. Pot, remember, pots hold a lot, which means that they have 2 handles, and pan will give you a hand, which means that they have 1 handle. So pots hold a lot, pan give you a hand, and then a turner is also known as a spatula. So it says list a few kitchen safety rules related to the following topics. Cooking spray. All right, one of the big things you want to do with cooking spray is making sure that you are spraying it over the sink, not over the floor, spraying over the sink and taking care of that. And then heat and fire. The big thing you need to know with this is that fires mostly start on the range, all right? They start on the range, aka the stove. If you see if you see smoke or flames, turn off the heat immediately, and then also make sure that if there is any instance of flames, you can put baking soda on heat and fire to kind of help douse the flames, and obviously until we get a fire extinguisher. So heat and fire, just make sure y'all are taking care of that. All right, define and give examples of, and we have the stretching example. So you obviously have dynamic stretching, which is where we're going and going through the full range of motion here. So that's going to be like, trunk twist and things of that nature. You're going through a full range of motion. Ballistic stretching is where you are stretching to the furthest point and then pulsing. We have active stretching, which is where you are being active and not actually using any sort of outside influence to hold the stretch in place. So this is, for example, those people that can lift their leg in the air and stretch out really well. Then you have passive stretching is where you use something to hold yourself in place with stretching. You then have static stretching is where you stretch your body to the furthest point and then you hold it. And then finally, you have isometric stretching, which is obviously stretching against resistance. All right. What does DRI stand for and what does it mean? It basically stands for the daily recommended intake. So that's like your recommended intake of certain things. You probably won't have this on your exam, but I'm just giving you this for information. RDA, recommended daily amount. What does it mean? You know, the amount that you take in. What does BMI stand for? What does it mean? Once again, sorry to backtrack, but DRI and RDA typically are not focused on that sort of thing in terms of what's going to be on the exam. BMI will probably be on your exam, which is body mass index. How is it calculated? Height to weight. Scapegoating is in the sports world basically where you have obviously where something happens in a game, or for example, one bad play goes on and that person receives blame for the entire game, throwing the entire game. Legal stimulants, caffeine, hands down caffeine. Diuretics, obviously, they cause you to urinate more, and then on top of that, they dehydrate you. Nicknames from performance enhancing drugs and their methods. The biggest one that you need to know about is doping. So that is just one of the biggest ones there. And then esports is basically taking that process of using electronic gaming consoles as a point of sports. So that is going to be your study guide review. Do it, take care, and I will see you guys later.